knowledge to get in contact with our partners and closer, and get in contact with technical people from our team, with technicians and technical people in our partner and potential partners. So today is second day of our academy, and there are 2 days to go. It's the same time during the week, and we believe that we will that this kind of activity will become traditional for years to come. Um, uh, Only one thing I would like to mention for those who participate uh, um, on not just one. We will try to reward several people with several attractive um, gifts. One is football, Acronis football, and two are very special, nice wines. One from Croatia and one from South Africa, which associates where Zebra is coming from. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm uh, giving a word to my colleague Andres Shabata, and I hope to see you tomorrow and on our Friday session. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you for the introduction, Nebojša, and again, good morning to everyone. Um, Today I will be presenting Enable, and we will be focusing on RMM and Passportal. So a quick overview, what we will go through. We will look on how to set up customers, sites, and devices in RMM, a quick look at templates and automated tasks in RMM, all the monitoring checks you can set up, and then we will switch over to Passportal, how to integrate it with RMM, or if you are using standalone Passportal, how to set up customers there, and setting up access rights and creating site users. So for those of you who are not familiar with Enable products, what they offer are MSP-focused products. First, I would mention RMM and N-Central. Those are remote monitoring tools. They offer some management options as well, automation, remote access, patch management, and many more plugins you can activate within them. Passportal is quite simply password management. The main difference against most other password management softwares is that it offers many MSP features. So you have it nicely divided between customers. You can set up rights for each customer, administrator for each one of them, responsible people to be contacted in case someone needs new access, and so on. For the other products that we won't be really going through today, there's MailAssure, which is email antivirus and anti-spam. It also offers archiving and email continuity, which means if a mail server goes down, the customer can use the interface of MailAssure and continue sending and receiving mails until everything is fixed. Then there's State Control, that's remote desktop access with file transfer and all those nice things you would expect from software like this. For RMM and N-Central, it's part of the license for the monitoring devices, but you can get it standalone as well. Next product is endpoint detection and response. That's anti-malware and ransomware protection. It uses mostly heuristic analysis, multiple artificial intelligence engines. So it's not that dependent on downloading new definitions every day. And instead it can work offline. And in case of a ransomware attack, when it detects multiple files, changing in a way they shouldn't be. You can have automated rollback, which means it will stop the malware and return the files to their last good known state. Then there's MSP Manager, which is a ticketing solutions. Again, it can be integrated with the other tools, mostly RMM and N-Central. So whenever you are doing some administration, some fixes, checks, you can automatically send the data to MSP Manager and add it to the bill of the customer. And last but not least, there's backup. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's mostly cloud-based, and there are multiple options from backing up entire workstations and servers to backing up only documents or backup for Office 365. Now, to our main focus today, we are going to see how to start with RMM. If you want to have a trial, you can go either through our website or through N-able. Of course, we would be happy if you go through N-able website and choose us as a distributor for your country if there are multiple. But starting the trial is pretty quick and simple. So when you start the trial, you will get access to the dashboard. You can have either just email and password login, or have two-factor authentication, which is strongly recommended. And in fact, you should probably use it wherever you can. Here is the view you get when you first log into RMM. So the first thing you would probably do is to add a client. So that would be your customer or your own organization in case you are just trying it out on your own PCs. When you start creating a customer, you enter client name, time zone, which would be mostly same as the company, but of course you can manage customers in other time zones. You can add dashboard access to the customer, which means you will add a user for them and they can have a look at how everything is doing if the customer requires that. And lots of other things, mostly reporting and executive summary, which is, I would say, a better option how to report to the customer, because it will automatically make a summary of all the tasks that were done for that customer and simplify them so the management can easily understand it. And you can have it automatically sent either to you or to the customer directly. Of course, you can brand everything with your logo and colors. So when you add the customer, next up would be adding a site. That would be either a department or a, let's say, physical location for the customer. If they have multiple offices or multiple departments, you can add them as sites for easier organization. And you can also use it to sort, let's say, virtual machines and physical, or, well, servers and PC are sorted anyway, so there's no need to do that, but you can sort based on operating system or basically anything else you would like. When you are adding a site, you again choose to which client you are adding it. You can choose the name of the site and the default monitoring templates. We will have a look at the templates in a bit. But one more feature you can do is to turn on data overdue cross-check for that site. If it is a physical location, if the monitored devices don't respond for some time, the cross-check will try to ping a router on that site. And if it doesn't respond, it will report to you that they are probably without internet and you might consider doing something about it. Now, when you have your customer and site edit, you can download either the agent for general installations where you would go to the PC, select the Windows, Mac, or Linux agent, and you would install it, log in, and select to which customer and site this device goes. Or you can download the site installation package, which is, again, the simpler options. And you have two choices here, either group policy installer or remote worker installer. You choose the client, the site, and whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux, and whether the network uses proxy server. And then you have the group policy installer and remote worker installer ready to download. The difference is that group policy installer is an MSI. You drop that into a group policy so it installs. And the remote worker installer is a executable file. You send it to everybody that won't have connection to the directory controller, and they just launch it, and it installs automatically silently in the background, connects to the dashboard, and then you see all the details you need about the device. So first, you will see some checks. Why I didn't talk about the templates at the start is simple. When you add a device, for example, this one, here we see there's a mail server running, Tireo Connect, and the check whether the service is running is automatically added when the agent is installed. So there's no need to set up a template for each service you might be running on a server or on a PC. And it will check all the usual information, how full are the drives, whether the patch status is okay, whether there were some failed logins, and whether there were any critical events in the events log. So most of the events that would lead to an issue later on, you will know about them sooner than the issue happens. So you can fix it without the customer really noticing any issues at all. The other information you see here are outages, and that's where all the failed checks would be. You would see, let's say, the drive was full for 3 days because it was the weekend and the user downloaded some movies on Friday. Or you can add notes, tasks, and you will see asset information where you will see details about all the hardware and software that's installed. Patch status where you would see all the details about currently installed patches, what's missing, what's critical and missing. And the last pane here is web. That's one of the plugins, web protection. You can either, in the basic settings, you are filtering for unsafe webs, but you can add rules. So, for example, the customer's employees don't use social media at work. And in the summary, you have the summary of the device. So you see the operating system installed, you see the agent version, whether all the checks are passing, what's the IP address, when was the agent installed, whether there's all the features of the agent available, and an overview of the hardware, which we currently don't have on the screen, but it's on the bottom left. Now, if you want to add tasks, you can either add them in the task pane, or you can add them to automatically start anytime that a specific check fails. So for example, if I have a check whether the mail server is running, if I detect that it's not, I will add task to that check to start the mail server. If it fails, let's say 3 times in a row, then RMM will notify me and I will know that there's some deeper issue. There are many automated tasks ready for you to use. So you can, for example, clean temporary files or general housekeeping like that. And what you can also do is add automated tasks to install or remove software. So for example, you know, users from a certain customer do have local administrator rights and they are all installing, let's say, some uTorrent or something like that. You can uninstall that application on all the PCs without having to do more than about 5 clicks. The other use for this is if the customer will be adding new devices, you can have a list of software that they want installed, have it either ready on an FTP server, or you can download from a URL. And you can create a monitoring template which you will apply to all newly added devices, and that will install, for example, Office, Firefox, and anything else that you might need to install everywhere. Now, before we jump to PassPortal, are there any questions about RMM? I don't see anything in the chat, so if you would like to know anything else, let me know in the chat and we will go into PassPortal now. So if you want to try out PassPortal, you can use our website. In case you use Enable website, you can only book a demo there. So in this case, I will recommend only us and the trial form. And again, once you fill it out, you will get sent an activation link. And unlike RMM, it's a bit more complex because it's dealing with passwords, so you don't want it to be insecure. Aside from the email and password you will have there, you will also have something called organization key. That's basically the encryption key for all the passwords in a certain organization. And you can have different organization keys for your company and your clients. Once you set all that up, you are required to set up two-factor authentication. Again, if you are dealing with passwords here, it's better to be safer, so the password manager doesn't become another and much better vector of attack. Once you go through all of that and you set your trial up, you will see a screen like this where you see the dashboard, you will see how many assets are there, if you are having documentation, how many domains are you monitoring, SSL certificates, and credentials. On the left, you see buttons for the dashboard, My Vault, which is where your personal passwords will be stored, Company Vault, which is password again for your whole company, and then clients. That's where we will be adding clients if you will be adding them manually, and we'll have a look in there in just a minute. From the rest, there's user management, access control, reports, settings, and integration center. And that's where we'll have a look next. So if you open integration center and you already use RMM, then there's good news for you. You can simply enter the address you see here. It's the address you will use to access RMM. And it's the same for everyone in Europe. And then there's the API key. You just switch to RMM, click on settings, general settings, and click on generating API token. Once you have that, you copy it, enter it here, and that's all you need for synchronization. Once you click next, you will see client sync. So you will see all the customers you have set up in RMM here. And you can either match them with some you have created in PassPortal if you have already, or you can create them in PassPortal automatically. And last option, of course, you can exclude them if only some of your customers want the password management. Once you do that, you will have all your customers here in clients. And for each client, you have a lot of options to set up. So first thing is the client name and phone for somebody who is the responsible person there. Again, for password resets or anything that needs authorization. You will have a rotation policy in days, which you can turn on. If that is your preference, you can set it up to however long you like. And next up is site login. That's a fairly important part. Once you turn that on, you can create users for that customer, which will be using Passportal just as a regular password manager, meaning they can install it in their browser, or what's a bit more useful is to have it installed in Windows directly. So you can have Passportal take care not only of the web pages, but passwords for all the applications. And of course, those users can then use Passportal Blink as well, which is a mobile app where they can request password resets without having to create a ticket or call you and waste your time. That's what you see on the bottom there. Unlock Windows on account resets, which should be reset uh, through the Blink app, and then the Windows agent, which is running a service, will unlock their PC for them. Once you set all that up, you can click on the download agent, or you can go to settings downloads and install the tools everywhere you need. So there's Edge extension, Firefox extension, Chrome extension, and there's also a password backup utility for Windows. And on the very top, there's Passportal agent, which installs directly on Windows. Once again, you can easily download it once here and then send it through RMM to install on the PCs you want. And you can set up the installation script to run with the agent key that you can reveal here in the customer settings. Once you do that, all the passwords that the user enters from then on will be synchronized to Passportal. And that's where the main advantage over, let's say, Chrome Password Manager is really visible, because not only is the user not the weak point now, because he doesn't have administration over all the passwords, but also whenever he would forget a password to the Google account, which Chrome syncs with, or if somebody else would get access to their mailbox and reset the password from there, you are protecting them from a huge data leak, which would have very severe consequences. And of course, you synchronize Windows and all the app passwords as well. Now, if you go to user management, you can see tabs for pro users, which would be agents from your company as an MSP. Those are the administrators. You can, of course, restrict them. So let's say each of your employees has only one client to take care of and only one client from which they can see the passwords. So you don't have to change every password for every customer anytime you change employees. Then you have site users. That's where you will add the customers users. And then you have Blink users, which are users with the mobile app to reset their passwords. As for reporting, that's one of the nice things here. You can run reports on password complexity and then go to the customer and show them whether they need to change anything, or on the contrary, you can go to them and tell them how safe they are. You can show audit logs on Passportal logins, client audit log, which will show who accessed which passwords, event history, and then user reports, where the most important thing is passwords known by user. Whether it's you or one of your customers, let's say changing an employee or downsizing, you can run this report and see which passwords the user had access to and promptly change them, so there's no outside access possible into any of your or your customer systems. From the other reports, there's passwords input by user, so which passwords they created, password audit, so that will show which passwords were accessed, and logins. Blink user status, Blink reset request. So that's another handy report when you will see how many times each password was reset or each customer requested that. And if you see some unusual activity there, you can check whether possibly the customer might have lost their phone or something. And of course, it doesn't work just like the user clicking on a button and having access to everything now. It has to be authorized. So even if they do lose their phone, uh, there's no security hole there. And the last thing is unchanged passwords, change passwords, and client passwords. So you'll have an overview of what's, let's say, how old and uh, all the passwords that exist in your system. Of course, that's just the basic things to do with Passportal, and there's many more options to do. So we went through it pretty quickly. Are there any questions? I'll leave another minute or two if anybody wants to ask anything. Oh, I see a question about how it is licensed. So to go through the basics, RMM is licensed per device which you are monitoring, and it doesn't matter if it's server, workstation, or a network device which you are monitoring and administrating through SNMP. But mobile devices which you can manage as well are somewhat cheaper than regular PCs and servers. And as for Passportal, there's a bit more expensive license for the pro users, which are the administrators. And then there's a cheaper license, of course, for all the site users as well. Another question is there any limit how much clients you can add? No, basically you can scale all of these solutions to however big you want. You can have thousands of devices in RMM, and there's no limit in Passportal either. I've got another question. Where is the data stored, EU or outside? Uh, all the data is stored in Europe. For RMM, it's basically one data center for Europe or one cluster of data centers. For Passportal, you can choose multiple countries, but I'm using Germany for storage. And if you are using Enable Backup, there's about 16 locations around the world which you can choose from, and I think 5 or 6 in Europe alone. And there's a nice table of certifications that each data center has, and you can choose based on that or just based on how close they are to you geographically. So if that's all the questions, I would like to thank you for joining us today. Of course, if you want to try any of these solutions or need any help with any of them, don't hesitate to contact us on Zebra CZ. You can find all the contacts, and we will probably send all the registrants email with additional information, links for the trials, and so on. and of course, contact for us if you have any further questions. And Nebojša asked me just to share this one last part. Again, tomorrow at 10:30, there will be an Acronis technical webinar. And on Friday, there will be a Cloudflare and Virtuoso webinar, which you can join. As Nebojša mentioned, there will be some prizes for the participants. And you can register on Zebra.cz/Zebra Summer Academy. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll be looking forward to meeting you again on another webinar.